Hi everyone, welcome to Hypopressives with Alice. I'm Alice. Today I'm going to be going through a quick step-by-step guide to the Hypopressives breathwork. Obviously, if you've got any contraindications to the breathwork and it's not safe for you to do the apnea breath, then this won't be appropriate for you. But if you are fit and well and it's safe for you to have a go, you can have a little practice with me now. So what we're doing with hypopressives is hypopressives sort of split into two things. We've got the breath work that we're aiming to optimise, and we've got a whole load of poses, and we put the two together to get the optimum benefits for your pelvic health. So with symptom improvements for prolapse, incontinence, diastasis, and then just general core strength, postural improvements, and some other things as well. With the breath work, we are aiming to get a really good 360 breath through the rib cage. This is sometimes called lateral breathing, sideways breathing, but essentially what we want to do is get the breathing into the sides of the rib cage at the front, which most people are normally doing anyway, and into the back of the rib cage there. So we'll see that if you're doing the breath work correctly, you're getting a little bit of a natural expansion through the back of the rib cage without moving the back to do that. So you're staying nice and still and you're just getting a nice 360 breath there. So the way to really get a handle on that is to have your hands around your rib cage, or you can use a TheraBand as well. That can be really useful. It's really good to learn this on the floor, but if you do prefer sitting up, probably better to sit in a chair, because then it's just a little bit more relaxed than sitting on the floor on a block. So we're going to come down onto the floor, and we're going to have the knees and feet nice and relaxed here. So aim to have your knees and feet hip distance apart. You want to make sure the back of the rib cage is on the floor here. It is quite typical to end up in a position where your back is off the floor. So you do want to make sure you've brought it down so you can feel kind of down to your bra line on the floor. There'll be an area here where you don't feel so much connection. If you just want to place your hands around your rib cage, we're just going to go through some of the basics of the breathing. So the first step really is to get the breath going into the ribs. It's quite common to have the breath going mainly into the belly when you start. So what I want you to do is think about keeping your tummy fairly still. You'll get a gentle rise with the belly as you breathe in, and focus on getting the ribs to expand. Now, what you don't want to do is try to get the ribs to expand by pulling in the belly like this. So you want to just let the whole of the ribs and the belly just gently expand as you're breathing in, but you don't want to lead with the belly. Okay, so it should look something like this. So you're going to take a nice big breath in and exhale. Everything's coming down and back in. Inhale, big breath in. Exhale. And then we're going to do one more breath here. Slowly exhale. So you want the in-breath to be roughly for a count of 3, and you want your exhale to be roughly twice as long, but we're not going to breathe out any more air than you've breathed in. So it's the same amount of air you breathe in with a quicker breath as you exhale with a slower breath. And for me, it's roughly about 5 or 6, but you do really need to slow down that breath, because what you don't want to be doing is forcing out the breath and really trying to push the air out, which will change the pressure dynamics, which is not what we want. Okay, so we'll do that again. So when I talk about breathing into the back, you're probably not going to feel very much on the floor. Don't worry about that. You'll need a mirror to have a look when you're sort of in quadruped position or something like that. Okay, so nice big breath in. Slowing that exhale down. Lovely. Nice big breath in. Slowing the exhale down so there's no forcing. And then one more breath in. And exhale. So as you exhale, the belly should lower, ribs are coming back down. With your hands, you should feel the rib cage expanding nicely. It's not a massive movement sideways, but you do really want to feel that the ribs are starting to move. And this is something you can work on over time, just to make sure you're getting a nice lateral expansion, breathing into the sides, into the back, and that everything is looking coordinated with the breath work in the way that we want. So the next thing is, after you've practiced doing the breathing, we want to practice holding the breath out. And that is just to help you kind of make the connections into the next stage, which is then going to be expanding the ribs after we've exhaled and held the breath. Okay, so we're just going to go through that together. So nice big breath in. Slowly exhale. No forcing. Inhale. And exhale. And then one more breath here. Exhale through the mouth. When the breath fades without forcing, you're going to hold your breath here and pause, and then just don't do anything. So just exhale slowly without forcing, pause, just hold the breath. And then when you get that desire to breathe in, just breathe in into your ribs. So if you're finding that you're not getting that urge to breathe in at all, you're probably just sneaking air in. So air is going to flow in if we're not thinking about kind of almost blocking off at the back of our throat. So just to be mindful of that, if that's a problem, I've got another video looking at troubleshooting the breath work. Okay, so we'll do that once more. So a nice big breath in, all the way through the rib cage, breathing in through your nose. Slowly exhaling, ribs are coming back down, tummy kind of slightly lowers. Inhale. And exhale. And then one more here. Exhale through your mouth without forcing. Hold the breath there. Keep holding it. And then when you get the urge to breathe, you're just going to take a breath in. Okay, so when those two components of the breath work are feeling nice and fluid and you feel like you're getting the hang of it, the next stage is to bring in the rib stretch, which is a conscious movement. So it looks like this. So basically you'll be exhaling, pausing, and stretching the ribs like this. You can practice this rib movement, which is almost like flicking the ribs sort of out. Now you are going to be using your core to generate that movement initially, but once you've done your exhale and pause and you come into the rib stretch, it feels so much easier. But obviously just while we're not exhaling and holding the breath, it is going to feel different. So practice kind of pulsing your ribs sideways towards your hands. So opening, closing. Okay, lovely. So what we're going to do is we're going to put those three components together. So we're going to do a nice steady breath in all the way through the rib cage, breathing in through your nose. Slowly exhaling. Lovely, nice steady breath in. Slowly exhaling without forcing. Lovely. And then one more breath in here. Exhale. You're going to hold your breath, pause, and then stretch your ribs. When you get the urge to breathe in, just breathe in once you've finished holding your breath. Okay, lovely. Let's have another go of this. So you're just going to pulse the ribs again, just to get that movement. Lovely. Okay, so nice steady breath in. And exhale. And again, breathing in. Exhale. One more breath here. Exhale. You're going to hold your breath, pause. Slowly stretch your ribs. Inhale when you're ready. Okay, so those are the basic principles around the breath work. So you want this lovely 360 breath through the rib cage. Once you come into some of the other positions, you'll be able to sort of see if you are breathing into your back, because you're probably unlikely to feel it, if at all. But sort of in this position here, holding nice and still, when you do the 360 breathing, it'll look like this. So you're getting a little bit of gentle expansion naturally. Sides, front, and back of the rib cage. And always remember that the amount that we're breathing in is the amount we're breathing out, but you're just slowing that down. There's no forcing. It's almost like misting a window. You don't want to ever feel like you're trying to expel all of the air or increasing the strength of the exhale to push out as much air as possible. It's a much more natural but an active exhale. And then the rib stretch, again, if you can't actually do it on the floor very well, it's quite nice to sort of practice sitting in a chair to sort of flick the ribs open and closed, and remembering that action, the way we generate that action is different from once we've held the breath, exhaled and held the breath and done the rib stretch. It should feel easier. And then in terms of where your ribs are coming with the breath in, so you're not going to get a massive sideways movement with it. When you breathe in and you breathe out, the rib stretch will roughly come to where you come with that breath in. And for most people, getting their breath work to an optimal place does take time. If you've done breath work in the past, that can be really helpful. Just watch out for the belly breathing. You basically don't want to be filling up and almost breathing into your belly, and there's very little movement with the ribs. We're really trying to get the rib cage moving, because what we want to do is get the diaphragm moving with the pelvic floor, which creates that lift and all the lovely changes with your symptoms. So have a little go. If you've got any questions, then let me know in the comments below, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.